You know what people get wrong about SUV owners? They think it's about size, about dominance, about wanting to feel bigger than everyone else on the road. And maybe that's part of it, but it's not the real story. Psychology research suggests that what looks like an obsession with bulk and height is actually something else entirely: safety, control, identity, the need to feel prepared for a world that often feels unpredictable. And that shows up through a set of very specific, very telling habits. Here are 10 signs you're obsessed with your SUV and what that actually reveals about how your mind works. Stick around for sign 8. It explains a feeling almost every SUV owner has had but never quite named. Sign 1. You feel calmer the moment you're sitting higher than the cars around you. This isn't about looking down on other drivers. It's about something psychologists call perceived environmental control, the sense that you can see threats coming before they arrive. Studies in environmental psychology have found that elevated vantage points reduce feelings of vulnerability, the same reason humans have always preferred high ground, watchtowers, the corner booth in a restaurant. An SUV doesn't just give you visibility, it gives your nervous system permission to relax, because some old, deep part of the brain has already decided that seeing further means staying safer. Sign 2. You think about worst-case scenarios when you're deciding what to drive. Snowstorms you might never encounter. A road trip with 5 people you don't currently have plans with. A flat tire on a highway shoulder at midnight. This is what psychologists call anticipatory cognition, the same mental process behind sign 6 in the original car obsession research: the ability to simulate future risk and prepare for it in advance. SUV owners aren't being paranoid. They're running quiet background simulations almost constantly, and the vehicle is the physical answer to a mental question that never fully turns off: what if? Sign 3. You feel a strange comfort buying a vehicle you'll probably never need to its full capacity. The 3 rows you rarely fill. The towing capacity you might use twice. The all-wheel drive for terrain you mostly never touch. On the surface, this looks like over-preparation, even waste. But behavioral psychologists describe this as a form of psychological insurance-owning capability, not because you expect to use all of it, but because the potential itself reduces anxiety. Research on decision-making under uncertainty shows that having unused options available lowers stress more than actually using them does. The 3rd row isn't really for passengers, it's for peace of mind. Sign 4. You've never once thought of your SUV as just a car. Ask an SUV owner what they drive, and they rarely say a car. They say the model name like it's a small fact about their identity. This connects to something researchers call extended self-theory, the idea that certain possessions become woven into how a person sees themselves, not as belongings, but as extensions of who they are. A sedan is something you drive. An SUV, for the people obsessed with it, is something closer to a base of operations. The vehicle isn't just transportation. It's a representation of how prepared, how capable, how together a person believes themselves to be. Sign 5. You feel oddly proud when your SUV gets dirty from actual use. Mud on the wheel wells, a scuff from a gravel driveway, dust from a trip nobody else would have taken that car on, unlike the car detailing crowd who feel discomfort at dirt. SUV-obsessed people often feel the opposite: quiet validation. Psychologists studying object identity link call this competence signaling to the self. The dirt isn't a flaw, it's proof. Proof the vehicle is doing the job it was bought for. Proof that the owner is the kind of person who actually goes places, handles things, doesn't just sit in traffic looking presentable. The grime becomes evidence of a life being lived the way it was supposed to be lived. Sign 6. You've mentally rehearsed an emergency you hope never happens. A blocked road during a storm. a trip that goes sideways and needs an unplanned detour through rough terrain, a family member who needs to be picked up from somewhere far, fast, in bad weather. SUV-obsessed people often run these scenarios without even meaning to, almost like background processes the mind keeps open. This connects to what's called protective cognition in attachment research, usually associated with caregiving roles, but it shows up powerfully in vehicle choice too. The SUV becomes a stand-in for a promise. If something goes wrong, I will already be equipped to handle it. It's not anxiety. It's quiet, constant readiness. Now pause on that for a second. How often do we misjudge people based on what they drive? Someone who buys the biggest SUV on the lot might look like they're overcompensating. Someone who refuses to consider a smaller car despite barely using the extra space might look impractical, even wasteful. But often what's actually happening is far more human than that someone trying to feel ready for a world they can't fully predict, using the one thing they can control completely, the vehicle sitting in their driveway. Sign 7. You feel a specific kind of stress when your SUV is in the shop. Not the ordinary annoyance of being without a car. Something closer to feeling exposed. Psychologists who study object dependency note that when an item is tied closely to someone's sense of safety, its temporary absence can trigger something resembling separation anxiety, not toward a person, but toward the role the object plays in daily emotional regulation. For someone who built years of routine around the certainty that their SUV could handle anything, a rental sedan doesn't just feel smaller, it feels like driving around without the version of yourself you're used to being. Sign 8. You feel most like yourself on a long drive with everyone you love inside the vehicle. This is the one most SUV owners feel, but rarely say out loud. It's not the driving itself, and it's not really about the destination. It's the specific feeling of having everyone who matters to you contained in one space that you are personally responsible for moving safely through the world. Psychologists describe this as a form of distributed caregiving care, expressed not through words or gestures, but through logistics, through space, through the literal physical act of holding a family together inside 4 doors and a windshield. The SUV becomes less a vehicle and more a temporary, moving version of home. For a lot of people, that feeling kids in the back, partner in the passenger seat, everyone safe, everyone accounted for, is one of the closest things they have to peace. Sign 9. You've justified the size, the fuel cost, the price, more than once to someone who didn't ask. A friend mentions gas prices, a coworker jokes about how big it is, and before you even notice you're doing it, you're explaining the safety ratings, the cargo space, the trip last winter where it actually mattered. This is what social psychologists call identity defense, the instinct to justify choices that feel attacked even when no one explicitly attacked them. It happens because the SUV isn't just a financial decision in your mind. It's tied to your judgment, your responsibility, your competence as someone who plans ahead. Defending the vehicle, in those moments, is really just defending the version of yourself that chose it. Sign 10. You feel a quiet, specific kind of pride that has nothing to do with how the SUV looks. It's not about the badge on the back or how it looks parked outside a restaurant. It's standing in the driveway after loading it for a trip, knowing exactly what's packed where, knowing the vehicle can handle whatever the next few days throw at it. SUV obsession, at its core, isn't really about size or status. It's about preparedness as identity, the deep satisfaction of knowing that whatever happens, weather, distance, an unplanned passenger, a sudden need to just leave, you already have the answer sitting in your driveway. And maybe that's the real story underneath all of this. It's never really been about the SUV. It's about the human need to feel ready, to feel capable, to know that the people you love are protected by something you chose, something you trust, something built specifically so that uncertainty has one less place to get in. A mind that's always scanning ahead, always preparing, always making sure that no matter what the road throws at it, there's already a plan parked in the driveway. If this video made you feel seen, subscribe more videos like this every week. And drop a comment below. What's the moment your SUV actually proved its worth? Tell us the story. We actually want to hear it.